Well, now, um, I cannot tell if we're streaming, but I think we are. And unfortunately, I'm on my own today without Jeff. So let me see if we're. Yeah, we are. We are streaming. Oh my gosh. All right, hang on. So in case you're wondering, like, oh man, why can't you figure it out? Well, because sometimes when I click on here, and I'm sure there's an answer to this question, but I click on here, it takes me to the stream for the day and says, hey, here's the stream. Click on this link for today's stream. But sometimes it doesn't do that, and then we just start streaming. And then I'm like, oh man, okay. I have a few nuts, by the way, so just to keep me sane and keep me going. I'm assuming that everyone can hear me fine, so that's a good thing. That's good. That's good. Hang on, I'm just picking some things out here that I want to talk about. Yeah. All right. So anyway, it's man, it's hard. I just got out of class and I have to run home, and Jeff's not around. Jeff's actually up on campus here in town on campus, trying to do some things. Fix my hair. All right. And so all is good. All right, here we go. So a lot happening. Just had the last class of the semester. This is just small groups, two different groups of about 20 to 25 students. And it's been really good. It's good having that because really digging into the minds of students in a way that I can't do in the larger classroom, because I can't really dig into questions and ask a lot of follow-up questions. And I was so really today in the one section, kind of what I did last week in the other one, but trying to figure out how students are kind of collecting or deciding which cultural trends to follow, in particular television, music. How are they making their decisions? There's so much, man. These phones, man, you have access to so many things. And so anyway, it's really interesting to hear from them, the things that they're interested in, and it's so eclectic. I don't know this to be true. I wish I could go back 50 years, 45 to 50 years, and have someone be in a room with a random sample of students and be able to ask and answer those questions, hear the answers. Like, I do not know what we would say. The eclecticism, everybody seems like they're following somebody else, different musical artists. But they all pretty much claim to have very eclectic taste. And so they're thinking about a wide range of people. They listen to lots of different music. Very few people said there was some kind of music that they don't like or they don't listen to. Really, really fascinating. So that's kind of, I just don't know what that means sociologically for the future, And I think the internet and the phones and everything, AI, AI might sort of push us all together, but I actually feel like it may be the opposite. It's just going to continue to fracture sort of, or build new roads, new pathways into the cultural forms that we might follow. And, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but it just feels like, I'm eating old-fashioned blister peanuts. Am I allowed to do that? Am I allowed to? They're just peanuts. It's not like a big mouthful of food, but I feel like I need to. I realized at the last minute I couldn't stream if I didn't get some protein, because I haven't eaten since 10 a.m. And I felt like I got to get something so I can just eat little peanuts as I go along. And maybe that's, for some people, I suppose that would be considered rude for some cultures. But, we're following lots of different cultures. So, pretty much you can do almost anything. And some people will say it's fine and other people will say it's not fine. And that, in a way, is kind of the beauty of this world that we're in right now. It's also the problem with the world, but it's also the beauty. And so, it's kind of wild. Anyway, really, it's just so fascinating. I'm telling you, the more okay, here's another thing. I was going to say, the more I talk to students of this particular age, the more optimistic I am, man, about, so, yeah. The entertainment world has absolutely been transformed by the internet. And, oh my God. And the amount of entertainment that's out there that is not professionally produced is quite striking. And how interesting it is to go through reels. Like if you're on like TikTok or Instagram or YouTube and you're looking at the reels, meaning the things that are pretty short, mostly the stuff that make it to the top, they're going to make it to an algorithm, are things that are more interesting and that are maybe not more well produced, but maybe they didn't, like, more well produced, maybe by accident or actually by design. But I mean, so I suppose you could say that. But they're things that are pretty, really good and mostly well done, or else they wouldn't make it to your feed. I mean, that's the nature of the algorithm, right? So, I mean, it starts somewhere, but it's sort of like Twitter, or I mean Reddit. It's like by the time you have all the new, if you go to all the new submissions, I mean, it's just like endless new submissions, but only some of them are actually going to make it to the top of the Reddit feed. Okay, anyway, hey, by the way, nobody in my class is listening to Government Mule, man. Although one guy was saying that he kind of listens to 1980s country. So probably maybe it's possible he listens to some Government Mule without maybe even knowing who they are. But other students are, still very eclectic, really, really fascinating. Okay, but one thing about my students, I would say 80% of them, 70% don't follow politics at all. It's just not in their purview. They're not thinking about it. It's not, some of them of that group, some feel like they probably should, but they just don't. And for me, why should they? You're 18, I don't know, just live life. So the realities start to become real, and the realities are, of course, that nobody has the answer. As my wife says, nobody has operating instructions. And so at some point you realize that that's true. And all these adults that are walking around and you think they know and you think they understand, including your own parents, you go to a certain age and you realize, your parents probably are just winging it. Like, we're all just winging it. Your bosses, the leadership, whatever it is. So, yeah. So in the meantime, what are you going to worry about? Because worry comes when you realize everybody's winging it. Then you really have something to worry about. So, but one thing is, so 70% aren't really following. Another 15% probably are. They're kind of following, but they're not really serious about it. But they're paying attention, and but they're not. When I ask them where are you getting your information from, and how are you learning to think through things? they don't have a lot to say. Like they can't give me the exact places where they go and, you know, to make sure that they're getting some good information, some good analysis of things that are happening in the world. And then you got 15% that are really kind of following along. But that doesn't mean they're really following. It doesn't mean they're informed. But it means that in their minds, they think it's important for them to pay attention, and so they pay attention. Yeah. So I'm given that description of those not following news or current events. Since the word is affordability, that almost seems like a myth, except for gasoline. Folks are buying and buying. It is, that's going to be the first thing we talk about today. It is really fascinating that, well, here, let me show you something on that. I don't know, that was actually kind of striking for me. Hold on, let me, hang on, I gotta move it over. Okay, there we are. So I found this, let me see if I can, I'm gonna try to, there we go. How's that? Let me go even one more. So this is home prices versus income, right? So it compares median, so this is this right here. It compares median home prices to annual household incomes. Okay, so also the median household income, all right? So it's looking at, well, how are home prices versus income? Now, think about who, I'm just going to bring this up at the top. Who do you imagine in your mind, where do you think it has the best, what countries have the best ratio? Meaning that on the median income, the average household income, median household income, people can spend the least amount of money for a home, okay? Or the least number of incomes, yearly incomes you need. So if you make $100,000 a year, if the index is 3, that means the median price of homes in your country, and again, this is a huge thing. I mean, my God, right? The median price of homes in your country is 300,000. So the index is 3. That means 100,000 times 3, and then it's 300,000. Okay. So here in the United States, obviously it's median. It's not mean, but nonetheless, buying an apartment in San Francisco or New York City is incredibly different than buying an apartment in Jefferson City, Missouri, or Gary, Indiana, or Bowling Green, Kentucky. All right, so nonetheless, these are some figures. Okay, so let's see what we're looking at here. Oh man. Oh, I have an ad coming up. Hold on. All right, I'll let the ad go. I'm seeing that. All right. So what countries do you think have the best ratio? If you wanted to buy a house, where are you more likely to have success in doing that? Okay? People put some things up in the chat. I want to see what you're thinking about. I want to see what y'all are thinking on. Where you at? Like where would you want to be? You want to buy a house. You're going to spin the relay wheel. You have an average income, a median income, and you buy a median worth house. Okay, so where's that going to be? Okay. Yeah. All right. So here we go. Let me show what people are saying. I'd say mine is that Ecuador. Germany is a rent-paying nation. Rents are growing. Latin America. What else? I want to just see a few things up there that you all say, because it's really quite curious. I had the first ones, part of the first ones down. Yeah. Okay, so here. Let's look at this. US is 4.5, so we're in pretty good shape. Mexico 8.4. And again, housing prices and incomes are very different. These are the median for those. Morocco 14.2. France 11.8. Spain 7.8. And here's among the lowest, Saudi Arabia 3.0. So here, let's come down to this, all right? Here are the entries. Let me actually let me see if I can. All right. So the Saudis and the Emiratis. Look at South Africa. I'm very surprised at South Africa. No, Saudi Arabia is mostly desert, but, well, it is mostly desert, but not where the cities are. And they have a growing region in Saudi Arabia. North Korea, and these are all because of subsidies, right, from the government. All these countries. Oman, Nauru, and here, look at the U.S., 4.5. Very surprising to me, by the way. I did not think the U.S. was going to be there. Here, now we get to Tuvalu, Namibia, Timor. It's Timor. Really, really fascinating. Here's Qatar in there once again, subsidies. Palestine. Probably subsidies if I had to guess. Nicaragua. Let's see where Ecuador is. Here's Belgium. Some really, really fascinating. Okay, but here's the Netherlands. Hang on, I'm gonna go kind of quickly because I want to get. Here's the UK. By the way, I don't think I saw Ecuador. Oh, here we go. Niger, Switzerland. That's kind of surprising. I would think there would be subsidies. Look at Japan. Okay, 10.3. There's Ecuador, 11.1. And what that means is, you have to earn the median income and save. If you could just save that money, do nothing else, and it would take you 11 years to buy an average price home. Look at Kuwait. There are also a lot of subsidies in Kuwait, so I don't know how Kuwait is all the way down there. But let's get down toward the bottom here. Chile, the DR. Here's Colombia, 17.5. Housing's really expensive in Colombia. Look at Vietnam. Iran. South Korea, 26. Man, look at that. Nigeria, Philippines, and then we get down here with China. You know, Syria, man, the Arab Republic of Syria. So what's interesting here is that you really wonder, we think about the birth rate, and so if we think about hang on, I gotta, hold on one second, man. All right. If we think about the birth rate, and someone was asking me after class today, by the way. Hold on, I'm going to come back to this. Someone was asking me after class or during class, I don't remember, no, before class, about the birth rate. And, just for all the reasons for the falling birth rate around the world. And obviously the price of housing, certainly what we experienced in Korea in interviewing people was a huge part of it. There are many components, but you look at China, man, like China you had your one child policy. Now they've gone to really pushing people to have 2 children and even 3 children, and offering subsidies for people to have more kids, and people are still saying no. Well, why would you have kids if you have to work? What is it? Hang on. What is it here in China on average? 34 years, almost 34 years at an average income in order to buy an average price house. Like, why would you have kids, man? Why would you have a single kid, let alone 2 or let alone 3? And even if you're getting subsidies from the government, the subsidies aren't going to be enough that you need. So anyway, it's really, really fascinating. Very, yeah. It's really quite, I don't know, just striking to see that. So when I think about, you know, like my students, no question about the fact that students, except the students from the Gulf country, everybody is concerned about housing prices. And so you know, with the students in the United States, though, look, if unless you're in an area like a very, very high priced area, it's like you're actually in pretty good shape compared to people around the world. So, and I don't know what this means for China, and this is sort of the complication of these things, right? You've got all this building construction in China over the past 20 years. You've got what are called ghost cities. So people, these big housing and construction companies, of course, leveraged money from the state and or build these massive housing projects. Here, hang on, I'm gonna find one real fast. China ghost cities. Let me pull this up. And here we go. Really, really, okay, hang on, I'm gonna come back to my window. So you get these cities that were built and they don't have anybody living in them. And they're oftentimes, you know, an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours outside of major cities like Beijing. And so here's the city. It's like the infrastructure's in place, the buildings are there, and they sold the houses very oftentimes, or they sold loans for people, but they really can't finish them. Look, here's another one. And here we go. See, notice the roads here. There are no cars on the roads. And so this is just really a huge, here, look at this one. Here we go. There's a few cars, a few people, but nothing relatively. So if you're really fascinated by this, look at this, ghost city. People, so you got millions of these housing units where no one's living, and they can't really, you can't continue to invest in them to get the cities up and running, and you know, they're out. It's like people have to travel. They're like bedroom communities, as we say in the United States. But if you're really interested in reading something, look at this here, man. 65 million empty homes. This is, yeah, really 65 million empty homes, man. So it's really worth kind of exploring that if you have an interest. But where I was going to go was, it's really, when I think about the complexities of the world and economics and the future and places like China and the US and what's going to happen in the future, it's like, man, I just don't have any. Okay, here. I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna put this in the chat. Here we go. There. This. You know, to really understand. understand what's going on in these places. Like I can't even imagine trying to figure it out. And that's the thing that's so interesting. Look at this. The Chinese real estate market, and what happened. And for me, because I'm just obsessive about reading about things or listening about things, I've heard a number of programs. I've read through a lot of articles about these ghost cities, but, and why they happen and so on. But, man, there's this one particular company called, I think it's the Greenland Group or something, but they really, just the corruption and anyway. Once again, I'm humbled tremendously by the idea that the stuff is really complicated and I'm never going to understand it. But at least I know about it, so that's pretty cool. And this is, one of the things here is that you can't, it's just hard to not have regulation, man. You gotta, the Chinese relationship with regulation is very convoluted and very complex because, you go from highly regulated to like kind of loosening the strings of regulation, but you can't just loosen them without a state apparatus and a private sector that's able to deal with the impact of deregulation, right? The banks, how do banks operate? How should they operate? What should the government's relationship with the banks be? One of the things that's happening here in the United States, everything's being sort of thrown up in the air and cast out to the dogs. This is one thing that we're seeing in this current administration is like, man, what's been working, what's the way we've been operating isn't the way we're going to be operating, or at least we're operating now. Some of it for the better and much of it for the worse. Because, we can argue that, but things weren't working in the United States. Well, of course they were working. We have, of course things were working. For the vast majority of people, things are working. I was saying to my class today, we've got now this new Democratic Socialist candidate up in Michigan, and some student was asking about that with Mamdani, I guess it is. And I said, look, man, think about this. When Mamdani was elected, what percentage of the government of New York continued to operate? They stayed in their same jobs doing their same things. A week after he was sworn into office. And the answer is 99.99%. And how much of the budget of New York City is going to change or has changed or could change? Very little, because the vast majority of that budget is just stuff that is locked in place and the mayor doesn't have any control over that. So like the vast majority of it's like nothing's going to radically change. New York City isn't going to become a socialist city. That's not possible. The way New York is operating, the vast majority of New York operations is just going to continue into the future. So it takes a lot. Now, even in the United States, with Trump, the vast majority of the budget hasn't changed. So, he got rid of all sorts of USAID, for example. It's like, oh my God, that upended the lives of millions and millions of people. And so with little changes, which is a relatively small amount of money, by the way, USAID, but can impact the lives of millions, But then it's like, okay, if I followed that around, then I want to know, like, if I could be in 10,000 places all at once and go around the world where USAID was operating and say, like, okay, how much of a significant number of people's lives have been, radically, seriously transformed because of the loss of USAID money. And I'm sure for some people, definitely, and for other people, it's changes. But life doesn't transform very much year after year, month after month, for the most part, and for most people. So it's like, okay. But doesn't mean that it's a non-issue. It just means that, for me, I'm always trying to balance the the extremism, so like, Trump destroying the war with all of his, I mean, my God, there are so many things that are deeply troubling, but much of the world, what percentage in the high 90s of the world that experiences no impact at all? And that's, I don't know, that there's something there. It doesn't mean that that's okay, but it does mean, for me, I'm always trying to hold multiple things in place at any one time. And same with Mamdani. It's like, okay, the guy's he's gonna give everybody free public transportation. He's gonna make it free for everybody. Now, anybody who would follow a budget or balances a budget, even if it's your own household checkbook, okay, bro, seriously, okay, what's the budget of transportation in New York City? And now you're gonna what's all the revenue that you bring in from that? Okay, so now you got to make up that revenue from somewhere, and you got two things: you're either gonna cut somewhere else or you're gonna increase taxes. So instead of the users paying a significant portion of the expenses of public transportation in New York City, then what it means is the taxpayers pay. So, okay, so that means the users of public transportation, their yearly expenditures decrease pretty significantly because they're still going to pay for it through tax increases, but their expenditures would decrease tremendously, but other people's would increase. Probably not a lot. I'm sure that public transportation in New York isn't extraordinarily expensive, although I'm sure it's something. Anyway, so this is the thing, anyway, if you listen to Mamdani say that in his campaign, it's like, dude, come on, man, seriously? And the thing is, you're smart enough to know that you can't just make it free, because you're going to have to pay for it somehow, unless you get all the workers to work for free, and that's not happening, which is annoying for me with politicians and with people who lie in that way. Not lie. It's a lie. Well, you gotta lie. You're not going to get elected if you don't lie. So what I was saying in my class today is like, well, you'd have to basically say, how much is going to change under my administration? Not a lot. And the reason it's not a lot is because the vast majority of the budget I don't control and I can't control. And if I add things over here, I have to cut things over here. I have to increase taxes. So what do you want me to do? You want to pay more taxes? Or do you want to lose these other benefits? So maybe we do trash collection once a week instead of twice a week. Okay, oh my God, you can't do that. All right, well, you want free public transportation. No, I don't use public transportation. So it's just like it's an endless fucking party of insanity. Anyway, it's a problem, man. Stop lying. Don't lie to people. Don't say shit that you know is absolutely not going to happen. It's annoying, man. That's about as annoying as Trump saying that he shot a 70 on a golf course and he won again. Once again, he won the club championship at his golf course. The guy's like, he's 80 and he's not shooting a 70, man. And then someone's like, well, yeah, but he has a handicap of 10, so it really wasn't 80. No, it wasn't. He doesn't have a handicap of 10. I've seen his golf swing. It is not a handicap of 10. If the handicap of the golf course, let's say it's 72, right? You need 72 strokes to be a scratch golfer to be par, right? So even par on the golf course, average golf course 72. And if Trump had a handicap of 72, if he had a handicap of 10, what that would mean is that, okay, look, we give you back 10 strokes. So that means if you score a 82 on the golf course, then we're going to say that you scored a 72 because, you did quite well. For your level of golf, you conquered this golf course. That's what a handicap is. And my thinking is, well, if the golf course is a 72, Trump would probably need a handicap of 80 to score even par on the golf course, meaning we have to give him 80 strokes. So it's like, oh my God. Okay, maybe not 80, but definitely 30, or 40. Anyway, my point being with politicians, it's like, not politicians, it's like, this is the world. People want it. We don't want it. Nobody wants it, but we got it anyway. That we demand that leaders change things. And if we're thoughtful enough, we know that there's not much they're going to be able to change. So, okay. So then they come and I say, what are you going to do for me? How are you going to change things? I better hear something. I can't hear, look, I'm not going to change that much, really. I just think you should vote for me instead of that other knucklehead. Maybe because the tiny things that I will change will be better than the tiny things that that person will change. Or I don't think it's a good idea to ban books in a library, and that person does. And so if you think that's good enough, that'll be the singular reason that you vote for me and not that person, right? But so I don't know, if you're like silly enough to believe that, then maybe that's what you get. You know what I mean? Like if you're silly enough to believe that Trump shot a 70 and that he won his club championship without cheating, you know, like, then whatever, then go ahead, man. I have, you know, ice cubes up in Alaska that I can sell you, you know. I have ice cubes I can sell the people of Alaska. How about that? Or there's a bridge in Brooklyn that you could buy. I mean, it's just insane, man. So, but anyway, that's what it is. So that kind of stuff, it feels so arrogant. But that's why I'd never be a politician, man, because because I couldn't lie. I would be telling people, look, you're not going to get much more from me than you're going to get from anybody else. But maybe you have some extremist ideology. Maybe it's me against some Christian nationalist, and you like the idea of Christian nationalism, and so, okay, great, then don't vote for me. But if you don't like it, vote for me. I'm not going to do that. All right, it's something simple like that, which could be a big thing, actually. By the way, the other day I was reading this piece about why we should be teaching the Bible in public schools, right? And it really made a lot of sense, you know, and it was really, we should teach the Bible as a history document, not that it's real history, because it's, you know, that it's not real, it's not observed, verifiable history, but also the stories, because the stories, which include they're historical stories. Again, my own take, maybe yours is different, that Noah, there wasn't somebody named Noah who built an ark and put all the animals in it. Like, that's not in my reality, but you know. But the reason they argued is because it's so much a part, the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament, is so much a part of our society, of our culture, that it just makes sense that we teach it as some kind of a document, not memorizing verses and all. It's not. They were saying, like, stop. Don't think about it as like what you got in Vacation Bible School when you were 7 years old. If you're a Christian, you went to VBS. I did for 1 year. Maybe that's what happened to me, how I became how I am. But I think I was about 7 years old, maybe 6. And then I think that just was the end of me. I lost all faith in humanity at that moment, as a young 7-year-old. But it's not, don't think of it like that, but think of it as some kind of, it's an important part of culture, you know? And with that in mind, then it would be really valuable. I mean, because we are primarily a Judeo-Christian society, but increasing, you know, growing numbers of Muslims. And so include some of the Quran in there. Like, have an understanding, you know? Like, think about how many, just somebody makes a comment about, I don't know, like Job, the story of Job, you know, like, oh, the trials and tribulations of Job. And, you know, which is pretty common in this particular culture. Adam and Eve, Moses parting the Red Sea, again, Noah's Ark, you know, these kinds of things. It's like, well, yeah, okay, you don't have to learn them in school, but they're just as much a part of the cultural lore as The Great Gatsby. You know, the other day I was listening to something and they were talking about the oh no, I went to a play at these little performances done by young kids at the Friends School here. Our goddaughter was doing one of the plays, and these 3 kids, they were just doing their own version of The Great Gatsby. And they were at most 14 years old, at most, maybe 13. And I thought, my God, even at 13, like, you're The Great Gatsby? What do you know about The Great Gatsby? But I'm looking around at all these other kids who are like 8 and 9 and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, wow, what are you thinking The Great Gatsby is? You know, because this is part of this cultural lore here in the U.S. So I thought, all right. Well, then when I read this piece about teaching the Bible, there are parts of it, again, not deeply, just enough that people at least understand where these stories are from. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. So that's all. You can read it. You can read this. No, I think it's a cultural document. I mean, that's, you know. So, what do we got? No, I mean, Trump shot a 70 on a 9-hole putt. Now, I don't know, the other day, on the front, I played 18 holes a few days ago. On a fairly challenging course. The front 9 was a 35 par. Back 9 was 76. So it's 3 different 9-hole courses. So you put them together any way you want. But on the front, on this one course I shot, that's the 35 par course. If you're not a golfer, that just means if you like really rock this course, then you do it, and it takes you 35 shots to be even par. Like, you know, the best golfers in the world come in and they do that. Well, the best golfers in the world do it on less than 35, but you've decided that that's just the measure there. 35, man. So you can move the tees up. You can be the tees that are really far away, or the tees that are really much closer. They could be on a par 5. The differential could be 80 yards. So that matters. A lot of things matter, but the idea being, you know, whatever, you play with it. But it's 35. I shot a 41 from not the closest tees, the front tees, but the second tee's back. So they're pretty close, relatively speaking, but, you know, whatever. I'm not that good of a golfer, but I shot a 41, and I know how hard that is and how hard I've worked. I mean, that was no mulligan. So that was like straight up playing the court, you know, like really, and how hard I've worked to do that, and how lucky I was. I had a couple of 20-foot putts. I got them in the hole. If I did the same putt 10 more times, I probably would not have gotten it in the hole. 2 different holes I did that. So now I add like at least 3 shots. So instead of a 41, on an average day, I'm at least a 44, if not a 45. So I got really lucky. And I hit one ball and it hit a tree and it bounced back out onto the fairway. And I'm like, okay, that was really lucky. So my 41 should have been a 45 or a 46. But anyway, it's a 41. A legit 41, because whatever. But I know how hard it is to do that, and I know Trump didn't shoot a 70. That's all. Yeah, they're all, yeah, 41. But again, I was in like the closer tees, right? So, you know, a couple of the par 4s were 400 yards, man, even with the front tees. So, but a couple of them were like, you know, like one was 290, the front tees. So, but you know, I don't drive that far, so yeah. Yeah, I know. Well, it was only 9. No, but then I played I played another 9 holes, and I shot 46, because I ended up with an 87, so the 46. And that was, and the 46 included one mulligan, so it really, I don't know if I would have, maybe I would have been okay and I didn't need it, but, and I would have gotten a 46 anyway, but I'd say like, okay, I probably would have got a 47. But the first 9 didn't have any mulligans, so, yeah. Anyway, that's it. Okay, where are we at? Let me see if I had a couple other things I wanted to look at. Oh, here's this thing, man. I don't know if I looked at this last time. Here, let me. Did I like pull this up? This is the New York Times. This is one of those things that the Times does. Hang on. There. Did I show this last class? I just found this. This is one of these things that yeah, one mulligan. Well, it may have been. Yeah, it means the score is like whatever, but but I'm pretty dedicated to being accurate with my score because I really want to know what my true handicap is. Okay, I really enjoy. So how Trump's getting richer in office? 2017. Let's see what we have here. 2025. How do you get this rich in office? In his first term, President Trump presided over the largest business empire of any president in modern U.S. history. Total revenue. Okay, here we go. Domestic golf and real estate is all of this. Okay. That doesn't say what his debt was, but financial disclosures don't pinpoint his net worth. That's the key, man. But they paint a picture of how much money he takes in each year. In 2017, most of the revenues businesses generated, it came from domestic golf and real estate portfolios. So, look at that, man. Okay? But by the first year of his second term, the president's business holdings had transformed. Look at that. How'd you do that, man? How do you do that in 4 years? And look at 1.4 billion crypto deals. Now, I don't know what that means, okay? I don't know what that means. I would take really an immense amount to investigate this. I definitely don't write it off. With that kind of money that quickly strikes me as some shenanigans. So here, merchandising and publishing. 170 million in settlements, something because he sues everybody. Foreign golf and real estate. Yeah, where he wields immense power and influence, like cryptocurrency. Huh. Yeah, see, I'd love to. You know what it would take for me to all this yellow in here, the crypto deals. You know what? First off, I could study this 24 hours a day for months on end, and I still wouldn't. I would get closer to the truth, but I wouldn't get the truth. Let's look at this. World Liberty Financial. God, the people the family's crypto firm. How is that legal, man? Yeah. Well, it's definitely a Ponzi scheme here. I mean, hang on, I say that definitely. It strikes me as, I can't see it any way other than a Ponzi scheme, but it's kind of unsettling, man. The Trump meme coin. Oh my God. Look, this who there's a sucker born every minute. Was that what P.T. Barnum said that? Like, you can imagine. And he made another 636 million from his Trump meme coin, a novelty currency. So in 2017, he didn't earn any money from crypto. Man, these guys, they got it figured out, man. They figured out how to do this. Holy smokes. Golf and real estate projects, including several in the Middle East. Oh, the Middle East. Oh, you mean the Middle East where we're busy striking any number of deals on behalf of the United States and the U.S. taxpayers? Oh, okay. I get that. Wonder if any of these have anything to do with the jet, the 747 from the Qatari royal family. Huh, all right. I just got to think that Fox News, if this was a Democrat, Fox News would be apoplectic about this stuff, man. And is Fox talking about it? Okay, so here we go. It was 60 million back in 2017, and then in 2025 we're 125 million. Okay. So hang on, let's be clear. This is golf and real estate projects. Okay. So they're golf and real estate projects. All right. 117 million in settlements, legal settlements. Oh yeah, the CBS thing, Meta. Like, wow, man, how is that? How is that possible, man? Look at this. Hey, by the way, I'm gonna put this here. Oh my God. You may not, if you don't have a, shoot, I can't. Well, whatever. I can't put it in the chat unless I make it a small link, a tiny URL. Revenue streams from merchandise and publishing made up a small fraction of his overall earnings. They total nearly 18 times what he made in 2017. Wow, what's the merchandise, man? Golf score calculators. Comparison of his domestic golf and real estate business saw modest revenue growth. Okay. All right, there we go. Trump blurred the lines between his family business ventures, family's business, and his office. In an interview with the New York Times this year, he justified his actions by saying that despite limiting his company's deal making in his first term, I got absolutely no credit. Oh my God, this guy, always the victim. God. And he kind of said in a statement that Mr. Trump was a massively successful business or a con man. I mean, you get people to give you money for cryptocurrency. That's a big Ponzi scheme, I guess. Or he's a good salesman, I guess. Or he's something, I don't know, Barnum and Bailey. Or P.T. Barnum, I guess. He acts in the best interests of the American people and that there are no conflicts of interest. Oh, I guess. Okay, so that means he's going to take all this money here, 2.24 billion, I guess, and give it to the American taxpayers. I guess he would do that, right? The best interest. That would be the best interest of the American people. Oh my God, man. Whew. I don't know, man. Yeah. I don't know. You know, the thing is, it's so hard for us to, first off, it's so hard to be a person of upstanding character. You know, where you really, when nobody's looking to do the right thing, right? To pick up, to be walking down the street at night, see a piece of trash, nobody's around, it's dark out, and pick it up, as opposed to the middle of the day. Or help somebody out in some kind of way without getting it on videotape and putting it up on TikTok. Or doing a kind gesture for someone without them ever knowing your name or whatever it is, right? Or just, you know, you can see that there's some car and they're driving down the road and they're really in a hurry and you just kind of get out of their way. You don't make a big deal of it or whatever it is, like something of upstanding moral character. You have to be able to be that person in all these kind of situations that are very complicated. And it's difficult to do that. And so, but yeah, we want to have heroes, all of us. Life gets very complex the older we get. It's very complex. Like we want to, my wife is always saying, fuck, we don't have operating instructions, man. We're put here on this earth without operating instructions. And you can say like, yo, no, that's the Quran or the Bible or the this or the Tao but you got to have a belief. Those aren't operating instructions. You have to have a belief system. You have to have some kind of faith to see those as operating instructions, whatever it is, right? Operating instructions would be clear, irrefutable doubt that this is how you do it. This is how you live your life. This is the way you raise your kids, and this is how you make a decision about having kids, and this is how you think about your health, and this is how we think about building communities, and it's just very clear. Okay, we don't have that, and so we're just hanging on basically day after day, going like, oh my God. And the older you get, the more difficult it is, because we realize we don't know, and like, damn, I worked so hard my whole life to try to find truth, and I'm really gonna get to the very end, and I'm not gonna have it. Like, I'm not gonna have it, man. And the reason I continue teaching is because the way that I do is I'm hoping I'm gonna well, first off, because I don't have anything else to do except golf and lower my handicap. But maybe I'll get some from other people. Just, I don't know, like, damn. Okay, so then we want to encounter people who we think have the truth. And then if we land on somebody and we sort of start to go all in on them. We open the door, we walk in the room, we sit down, we listen to them, and we start saying like, oh, hey, I like what this person's saying. But I don't like that, but I like all this other stuff. But there's something inside of us that leads us to need to disregard some of what we don't like and focus on what we do like, and then this is what gets really troubling, take what we don't like and turn it in, see it inside out in some kind of convoluted way, and turn it into something that we do like. Oh, I didn't used to like any of that, and I wouldn't have liked that had I heard somebody saying it in the past or saw somebody doing it. But now it makes sense because I like all these other things and this person's doing that, so therefore, okay. But so there's something in us that will do that. And then, we become these followers of people who are really not, maybe if we think about it, if we go back 10 years or 20 years or go ahead 10 years, we feel like, I don't know if I really should be following this person. I just don't know that this is the person I should be following. So when I think about a lot of these folks, right, I know that people have moral failings, right? Like I try not to. I try to be very consistent in how I am and when nobody's watching me, and my personal relationships with people, and my relationship with my wife, and their things, like all sorts of stuff, right? But it's difficult, and it's difficult, damn. But mostly I think I'm fairly consistent, but I could be more consistent. The other day when I was playing golf on that second 9-hole course, I could have not taken that one mulligan. There you go. Like, don't do that. And or what I found out that I was telling the guy at the clubhouse, one of the rules guys, I say, I got kind of stuck behind a couple people, and so after I putted out, I just dropped some balls around the green and I just started practicing. He's like, oh no, you can't do that. I'm like, well, why can't I do that? Well, because you're practicing in the middle of a round. That means when you get to the next green and you're putting, that means you have an advantage because you gave yourself an advantage by hitting 10 or 15 or 20 putts. As a practice, you practice before you play, right? And I said, oh my God. That means also when I was, the next hole, when I was waiting for them, I was sort of got my sandwich out and I was chipping up onto my 56, angle 56 club. And I was sort of just chipping up on the green for the fun of it. He's like, yeah, no, that would be cheating too. You can't do that. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, so there. You can't practice in the middle of a round. Man, this is really hardcore. Okay, so there. I like, all right, so there's a moral failing on my part. But anyway, when I think about this, to me, what I see with this current prep, and when I'm looking at a lot of these numbers of this, I just think this just is incontrovertible, man. You can't make this kind of money. You can't do this. This is just really immoral, unethical. It's just, oh God. But yeah. But whatever, we do. And then it's hard to turn away, it's like, you justify it. Well, but Biden, the thing about Biden was he wasn't Trump. I'm like, well, that doesn't make Biden, not being Trump doesn't make Biden more ethical or less unethical or whatever, right? And then you say like, yeah, but they all have to be. It's like, do they all have to be? Does it really have to be like that? It's like, you have to do some things that I disagree with. Obama did a lot of stuff I disagree with. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's really, it's pretty, I don't know. There we go. That's where we're at. So that's my shtick for the day. That's it, man. And I don't really, I think I'm kind of actually, my throat's getting a little sore. And I think I'm going to just have to, I'm going to have to hop out, man. And it's highly unlikely that I'm going to be streaming next week just because I'm going to be out in LA. And I just don't know. I'll see if I can find a time from out there. I'll stream and talk a little bit about what I'm doing. It would be a really good idea if I could stream. All right, I'll try. I'll work it out. But I don't know when it's going to be. So that's a key. I definitely am not sure when. But definitely not Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern time. Assume that's not going to happen. And I can stream with my phone, walking around. I can do any number of things. But just know that Wednesday at 3, it's Eastern time. It's almost certainly not going to happen. So, yeah. But who knows? I might prove myself wrong. All right. Okay. That's it. I'm gonna be out. I'm gonna hop off the stream here. I really appreciate it, and you appreciate your time. Thanks for tuning in. And we're getting ready for a cool semester. We got a lot of great topics, so I'm excited for what's to come. All right. Thanks everybody, and be well.